This is Binghamton Now on News Radio 1290 WNBF Binghamton and WNBF.com.
I'm Bob Joseph, and this is the program, the one everyone seems to be listening to, the one everyone seems to be talking about. It's Tuesday, October 1st, 2024, and this is the one and only Binghamton Now. WNBF! And we welcome you to another live broadcast filled with original content. Unlike the other programs, content to use pre-recorded content for their convenience, we offer live content with real people talking about issues in real time. So if there's something on your mind, I would suggest that you call 607-772-1290, and we'll see where our radio travels take us. Between now and noon, we have 2 hours and 49 minutes to chart a special course, the path to the future. 607-772-1290 at WNBF and Binghamton Now. And as we start the day, of course, we are looking forward with some enthusiasm to the vice presidential debate. This is it, the most important debate in the history of the USA. From the CBS News Broadcast Center at 524 West 57th Street, J.D. Vance and Tim Walz face off live. Let's get ready to debate. Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz will face off at Broadcast Center. The moderators will be Nora O'Donnell and Margaret Brennan of CBS News. So, as we head to the big broadcast, be prepared. Be prepared. Anything can happen. And now that it's October, that means even October surprises. So don't be stunned if one or both of the candidates pulls out a very special surprise out of their debate hat. I'm looking at the rules. I don't see anything that actually precludes the candidates from wearing a debate hat. Wouldn't that be funny? J.D. Vance, Tim Walz, you're both wearing debate hats. So here's what, as they say in the headlines that are generated by AI, here's what to know. If you notice that in headlines either here's what to know or here's what we know. Those are headlines probably not generated by a real person, because a real person, I don't think, would write that in a headline. But AI headlines, here's what to know. And I'm reading this directly from the CBS News website. So this is the official information. Here's what to know about the debate. It starts at 9. It is scheduled to run 90 minutes, so that would mean it would end at 10:30. My guess is it'll go a little past 10:30. I don't have to shut the microphones off at exactly 10:30. Nora O'Donnell and Margaret Brennan will ask the questions. As I mentioned, it'll take place at the fabulous, historic CBS Broadcast Center in Manhattan, West 57th Street. What are the rules for the debate? Here are the rules, as reported by CBSNews.com. Both companies agreed to a 90-minute debate with 2 4-minute commercial breaks. Campaign staff are not allowed to interact with the candidates during the breaks. There will be no audience. A measure also implemented during the two previous presidential debates. At the start of the event, the moderators will introduce the candidates in order of incumbent party, with Walz coming first. There will be no opening statements. Walz will stand behind the lectern on the left side of the stage, which will be on the right side of viewers' screens. Vance will be at a podium on the right side of the stage, but on the left side of screens. Candidates who cannot bring pre-written notes or props on stage will have 2 minutes to answer a question and 2 minutes to respond. They will be allowed 1 minute for rebuttals. At the discretion of the moderator, the candidates could get an extra minute to continue a discussion. Unlike the presidential debates, a candidate's microphone will not be muted when their opponent is speaking, but CBS News reserves the right to turn off the microphones. Vance won a virtual coin toss Thursday, opting to go second with his closing statement. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for their closing remarks. No topics or questions will be shared with the campaigns in advance. So you can watch it or listen to it. I think it would be wise. And this is CBS News is covering this debate in a way that is similar to the way the Super Bowl is covered, because the debate will start at 9 p.m., so needless to say, CBS News coverage will start 5 hours before the debate. Oh, well. I know that probably wasn't decided by... It probably wasn't decided by the news division. It was probably decided by management. But, hey, whatever. You got a debate. Run with it, baby. Run. Don't walk. So, well, we'll see what happens. I'm sure it's going to be, as they say in the news business, historic. But then, in the news business, everything is historic. Even if it's not momentous, it'll be historic. It's 9:17 at WNBF. Thank you to people who are sending emails this morning, including the person who sent me an email in Spanish. It is a pity that the only language that I tried to learn years ago was French, so your Spanish email is not really going to have a big impact. I can discern the gist of the email, but as far as the full impact, I don't really think, because I know so little Spanish, I don't really think that I can put it in proper context. Oh, no. Bad news. No, it's just news. But it just goes to show they're always trying to make you concerned. So if it's not gas prices, and look, gas prices continue to drop, which is great, except for the Republicans. So gas prices are dropping, as every American wants, except for the Republican candidates and their campaign managers. They were hoping gas prices would hit $7 or $8 a gallon by now, so there would be widespread discontent. Of course, inflation appears to be somewhat under control at the moment, and a recession, which people have been predicting for the last 3.5 years, has yet to materialize, but I'm sure some people are still hoping between now and November 5th that the recession will start. Sorry, Charlie. But here's something, just so you don't run out of things to worry about, and it's courtesy of our smart friends at Cornell. And thank you to our intelligent friends at Cornell. The headline is, shoppers should prepare for continuing changes in egg prices. What kind of a study is this? Shoppers should prepare for continuing changes in egg prices. Doesn't say shoppers should prepare for higher egg prices or lower egg prices, continuing changes. In other words, that's the story of life. Every price changes. So thank you, Cornell, for that late-breaking news. Continuing changes are expected in egg prices in the U.S. It's 9:20 at WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
It is Dave from Vestal. Good morning, Bob.
And a good morning to you.
Bob, I was listening to you. They're knocking the Republicans, saying that they want high prices, Bob. They want high gas. Bob, why don't you do this? Why don't you go the other way? Make fun of the Democrats. Gases are going down. Gas is going down. Things are going down. Borders slowing down. Why, Bob? Why are they doing that? Why is everyone working together to make the Democrats look good? It's an election year, Bob. It's not that everything's doing great. They're making it to look good. They get back in, everything will go back to crap. You know that. Yeah. Why don't you go that way?
No, I don't believe that for a second. Everything, as they say, everything is beautiful in its own way. So you're telling me that Republicans are happy that inflation's under control? They're happy that grocery prices have stabilized? They're happy that gas prices are plummeting? You're telling me ahead of November 5th, Election Day, Republicans are actually happy with these economic trends?
Certainly, Bob. We don't want people to be paying out the nose for everything. Of course we want it done, but we know why it's being done. We're being deceived, Bob. Make us look good. Elect us again so we can destroy the country some more. By the way, Bob, yesterday, I didn't want to call back in a second time. I got to go over this one more time. In that border bill states 4,500 to 5,000 people come in one day, then Biden.
Well, like I said yesterday, I really don't want to talk about numbers on the radio. If people want to look at numbers, they should go to the internet or look at their newspaper. When you start talking about numbers, whether you say 5 people come into the country illegally or 5 million come into the country illegally every day, people are driving. They should be paying attention to their driving or pay attention to what they're doing in the kitchen or the office. So when people start throwing numbers around on a talk program, except for good numbers like the price of gas, now $3.19. No, I saw one, $3.15 a gallon, baby. Now that's a number everyone can understand and embrace.
Yeah.
Right? Right? The last time gas was this low, I think, was, I don't know, I think a couple of years ago. I mean, we had some high prices. Remember, about 2 years ago, the prices around here topped out just above $5 a gallon. Now, they're almost $2 a gallon cheaper.
Well, what were you paying in 2017 18, Bob?
I don't know. One thing, I was doing a story yesterday about, actually, let me see if I can find this, because I sent to a helpful listener, information. Let me see if I can find this, because I thought it was telling. And you won't like it, so let me find this.
So let me find it.
It's kind of mean, right? You won't like this, so let me find this. Well, you'll be impressed that I actually noticed. If I can find it. Hold on a second. Oh, is this the only thing now on NBF? Wow. What a bad show. Well, anyway, the upshot was somebody sent me some information about an ongoing problem around here, and I told him that I would look into it. And then I also pointed out, but over the last several years, I've written a few stories about this sort of ongoing problem. And one of the stories that I sent him, I think, was from 2013. And a photo had the price of gas in 2013, which I believe was 11 years ago, and the price of gas was $3.56 a gallon. So I'm thinking, so 11 years ago at a local station, that's back when they had this kind of gas called Hess gas. It was Hess gas, and they were selling it, and everybody loved it. That was one of everybody's favorite things, not because of the gas, because of their holiday trucks. But the gas price on the sign from 2013 in a photo I took was $3.56. It was $3.56 a gallon, so it was about nearly 40 cents a gallon higher than it is now. And I'm thinking, so you're telling me that there's something that people in Broome County can buy today that is significantly less than it cost in 2013. And I thought the only thing you could probably point to is gas. Gas now is an exquisite bargain at virtually every retail gas outlet. I mean, there should be dancing in the streets. Right?
Yeah, there should be. Yeah,
with
right.
Martha and her Vandellas. Or Linda and her Ronstadts.
Right. And you mentioned Hess, Bob. Speaking of Hess, you remember the one in the Georgia fire?
Oh, that was my favorite. That was my favorite. That was getting robbed every other night. Well, before it was Hess, it was Hi-Fi. Or low. No, it was, I don't know if it was Hi-Fi. It was something else before it became Hess, but it seemed like it was getting robbed all the time. So,
even years before that, Bob, remember the place that sold burgers there? Remember the name?
Sure, Henry's.
Henry's. Yeah.
You could get a burger for 2 cents, a cheeseburger for 3 cents, and a quadruple thick shake for 8 cents. You could feed a family of 12 for less than $1. And that's good because in Endwell, that's back when we had big families. Appreciate your call. Thank you. WNBF, you're at the radio station. Oh, I love it. I love it. It's Tuesday, first day of October. Binghamton Now with Bob Joseph on WNBF. Joined now by Karen Sweet O'Neill. This segment is sponsored by KSO Insurance Solutions. Karen has a preview of tomorrow's special weekly feature. Good morning.
Good morning, Bob. How are you?
I am fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Yeah. We'll see how October goes, right?
It's off to a rip-roaring start.
Hey, I can see the sun in the blue sky. So that's a good start.
It's a great start.
You bet. You bet. Also, it's going to be the start. Here's a good segue, Bob, into in the mid-October, October 15th to December 7th, we're talking about annual and open enrollment for people that are on Medicare, whether it's Medicare Part D prescription plans, Advantage plans, or also Medicare supplements that go along with the straight Medicare Part D prescription plans. What are we going to talk about? Well, you know, it's curious because there was an article in the paper this morning, and it was stating how some of these Medicare plans are going to be decreasing. Well, guess what? I'd love to talk about that, but mostly we're going to be talking about some major increases so that people are aware that they might need to make some changes. Every year, there's an annual notice of change that is sent to people that are on Medicare Advantage plans or Medicare Part D prescription plans. And just for an example, one of the lowest premiums, the lowest premium, I believe, for Medicare Part D prescription plans this year, Bob, 2024, was $3.70 a month, which is pretty darn low, with a lot of very low or zero copays. They have increased that premium. The pharmaceutical company that offers it have increased that premium to over $38 a month. That's a pretty darn big increase. So that's something people need to look at. You need to open up your mail for the annual notice of change. And, of course, if need be, then make an appointment and we can shop it for you. We are at 1708 Vestal Parkway East, up above Plato's Closet in Style Encore. You can reach us several ways for an appointment. You can simply give us a call at 607-772-4898. You can Google us at KSO Insurance, and all our contact information comes up, including our website, and you can make an appointment that way. Or if you missed the phone number, we have a big display ad under insurance in the Yellow Pages, and we're going to go over some of the changes that are coming down the pipeline with these plans in 2025, and we're going to focus on the numbers because numbers really mean a lot to people because it is their budget that they are dealing with, and we want to make sure that they get the most bang for their buck.
I will look forward to speaking with you tomorrow morning at about 9:20 right here on WNBF.
Sounds good. Thanks, Bob. Have a good day.
Thanks, Karen. 9:32 at WNBF, the station I work for. Technically, it's the station I work for, but more broadly, I work for you. Bob Joseph, on your side. Who else actually is on your side? That's a really good question, right? Well, actually, no one. Well, actually, someone. Bob Joseph is on your side. It's 9:33. Let's take another call from a lucky listener. Good morning, WNBF. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
This is Patrick DeHaan from the gas
Oh,
plant.
don't go toying with me. It sounds like the former mayor, Matthew Ryan from Binghamton. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I'd just like to comment on the previous caller's comments. For us to believe that everything is fixed and they're fixing it all for the election, we would have to believe that the well-known conversation that Donald Trump had with the oil and gas industry, said, if you give me $1 billion for my campaign, I will basically be very easy on regulations with you and give you everything you want. And so if that's true, and we know that conversation happened, then how in the world are prices going so low? Because if they're the ones that control the oil and gas industry, how would they let the prices go so low if it would help Kamala Harris? Makes no sense. And also, if we take that to the next case that's going on today, the dock workers striking for the first time in many, many years, wouldn't I be able to claim that that's a conspiracy of the Republicans to hurt the economy? I mean, it just goes on and on. People come up with reasons why things beyond our control many times that are good for the country are happening. People are trying to do the best they can, as you always say, and we're trying to move forward as a country, and they just come up with excuses that decry the fact that everybody thought we were going to go into a recession. And even Biden wasn't completely responsible for this, but his policies, everybody said it would drive the country into recession, and we're in combination with the people setting monetary policy. It's not going to happen. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. We got to have a soft landing. Everybody knows.
I hope we do. But as I wrap up this segment, will you promise to me that you'll watch the debate tonight?
Bob, I watch everything.
I was waiting for you to surprise us and say, no, actually, I heard there's going to be something special on Netflix. Wouldn't that be funny, though, if you said, no, I'm not interested anymore. I know how things are going to shape up in 5 weeks, so who needs to hear what the candidates are going to say? Well, I appreciate your call. Thank you. I'm trying to get in as many calls as possible because we love America. We love America the most. Hi, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Paul from West Windsor.
Yeah, what's up?
I've been listening, and I understand, maybe you can verify it, that the oil reserves is at the lowest it's ever been, and that Trump bought it real cheap when he was in presidency, and they've been using up the oil reserve to keep prices low on gas. Is that true?
Don't know. I just don't know.
That's what I hear on the conservative news.
Well, I'm not surprised they would be saying that on the conservative news.
Well,
on the liberal news, they might be saying something else. As far as whether it's true or not, I have my doubts, but I can't say one way or the other. Could be.
So many times that he bought oil really cheap. He made good deals on buying oil when it was cheap, and he built up the oil reserves. He was talking about it himself.
Yeah. Well,
the oil reserves. And
yeah. I'm sure. I will say this. I'm sure any administration regardless of party affiliation. Any administration approaching a crucial election will do whatever it can, whatever's feasible, to try to have an impact on prices. I honestly don't.
Well,
I honestly don't think there's a lot they can do.
AI to verify what I said.
All right. Well, I'll let our listeners do it. Our listeners.
All right.
Our
Thank
listeners.
you, Bob.
Yeah. And by the way, will you promise me, Paul from West Windsor, will you promise me that you'll watch the debate tonight?
Yes, I intended to,
Okay.
but now you made me do it.
Now you're compelled. Yeah. Try to watch it. If you do watch it, let me know what you think.
Okay.
Appreciate your call.
Thanks, Bob. Bye.
More calls, more often. This is the station that features a wide array of voices. I was just talking with some regular listeners less than an hour ago, and they work the streets of our city, but many of them listen to the program, and they're fascinated. They're fascinated by what we do and intrigued. And hopefully you feel the same way, because we're doing everything possible to cover the local topics, but also the important national topics. 5 weeks from the election. So everybody has an opinion. And we have a phone number, 607-772-1290. I'm Bob Joseph. This is Binghamton Now on WNBF 92.1 FM, 1290 AM. And stay connected with Binghamton Now using the free WNBF app. At WNBF 941 with the weather. Or not. And here we go. A fine fall forecast. Partly sunny today. High 71. Mostly cloudy tonight. Low 55. Cloudy tomorrow with a chance of showers. High 64. Mostly sunny Thursday. High 73. The extended outlook for those who look to the distant future. Partly sunny Friday. High 74. Mostly sunny Saturday. High 70. And sunny Sunday. High 70. So the first full weekend of autumn looks mighty nice. Mighty. So I'm looking forward to that. Basically sunny and around 70 for both Saturday and Sunday. And right now here in beautiful downtown Binghamton, it's 59, which is 15 Celsius here at News Radio, WNBF. And air quality is in the good range. Air quality index is 15. No, wait, it's not going to be that good. The air quality index is 39. At News Radio, WNBF, WNBF.com. At 9:42, and a story that I've been working on, that's just been working to gather some facts. Deadly shooting in Binghamton. It happened last night around 10:15 at the Town and Country apartment complex on the north side. The police were sent to 100 Robert Street, Building 2, Apartment 8. There was a report a man had been shot in the face. When the officers got there, they found 41-year-old Terrell Norris with a gunshot wound. They tried to help him, but nothing worked. And Mr. Norris was transported to, I believe he was taken to Wilson Medical Center, where he was pronounced dead. The police also found out moments later that there was another person who had a gunshot wound, and that person was at 104 Liberty Street, and that person, a 21-year-old man, according to police, sustained a gunshot to his foot. He was transported to a hospital for treatment. So right now, this is what they are releasing. Obviously, they know a bit more than what they're releasing at the moment, but this is what they have said. The investigation at this point has determined the shooting happened in the parking lot of 100 Robert Street, Building 2. And it says, as a result of the gunfire, Terrell Norris, who was an uninvolved party, was struck by gunfire while in his residence. And as we reported, he died. Well, you're going to hear a lot more about this. This is a troubled apartment complex. We've been following the situation now for years. Town and Country Apartments. Last time Mayor Cram was here on the program in the studio, we brought it up. And as he said, there were ongoing problems. A lot of the apartments, and I've been there a few times in recent weeks, a lot of the apartments are empty. And I think ultimately, I don't know in terms of the planned renovation project if they really want all of the buildings at Town and Country to be empty before they start the long delayed renovation work. I'm not sure. But you will hear an announcement soon, but we've heard announcements before. You know, this Town and Country apartment story is, in my opinion, it's a real shame, but it gets scant coverage. And I'll be the first to acknowledge that WNBF hasn't covered it aggressively. We probably should have done more, but the fact is we haven't. It's an apartment complex where I can't remember the exact number of apartments, if it's 253 units. So according to this story from 5 years ago, the Town and Country apartment complex, and even though you might drive past it on Shenango Street or West State Street, you might not realize that the complex is 22 buildings, 253 units. It was built 61 years ago. And to say it's a mess is an understatement. It's very difficult to describe conditions in some of the apartments. And I know I haven't seen the worst. I've seen some apartments with deplorable conditions, but I have not experienced the worst. So if I look back in our archives, July 2019, the story said $38 million plan to buy and improve Town and Country apartments. Story written by Kathy White. An apartment complex in Binghamton will be sold to a Boston developer who plans extensive renovations. So remember, that was more than 5 years ago. Economic development officials joined the president of JE Properties, Joseph Eddy, on July 12, 2019, to announce a $38 million plan for the apartment complex. The story says the renovation plan includes everything from washing the brick facades to new kitchens and bathrooms, roof repairs, new security measures, and creating accessible units where there currently are none. Officials say the work is expected to take 2 years with no permanent displacement of residents. The announcement from the city said this company, based in Boston, run by a guy named Joseph Eddy, had applied for low-income housing tax credits through the New York State Homes and Community Renewals Housing Finance Agency to ensure all units of the complex will remain affordable. The complex has a long history with law enforcement, including the fatal shooting of 19-year-old Scott Wright Jr. in 2014, which prompted Mayor Richard David to call for a public safety review for what he called perhaps the most troubled apartment complex in Binghamton. Well, here it is more than 5 years later, and in my estimation, based on personal observation of the place and also talking with residents, and how many reporters actually go out and talk to residents at Town and Country? Well, I do. And I was there this morning talking with residents, and it's heartbreaking. So I was out this morning talking with the residents, people who live nearby who heard the gunshots last night at about 10:18. Talked with some of the police officers who were out canvassing the neighborhood this morning, trying to get answers. And that's another thing with investigations of this nature. The police frequently encounter near zero cooperation when they're trying to find a killer. So the person in this case who killed 41-year-old Terrell Norris is as dangerous as the person who killed 12-year-old Eliza Spencer. But you can bet this case, where a guy evidently was shot in the head while in his apartment, or in the parking lot rather, and he wasn't even involved, according to what the police believe they know, this case isn't going to get the same level of attention from Binghamton and from the region and even from across the country. Police are continuing the investigation, and this applies always, whether it's a homicide investigation or any other type of police investigation. They request people with information to contact them. So if you know something, then you could call the detective division at 607-772-7080. And if you have information but want to remain anonymous, you could do that too, although they certainly would appreciate if you would at least tell them who you are and how to get in touch in case they have further questions. But if you need to maintain your anonymity because you're concerned for your personal safety, they'll still take whatever information you can provide, even if you don't want to give your name or phone number. It's 9:52 at News Radio, WNBF, WNBF.com. So we're here for you. And, there's nothing sadder for me as a reporter than starting my day and knowing, I knew last night where I would be first thing this morning. So I did not last night go to do any reporting from the scene after this happened around 10:20 last night. But I was there this morning and talked to some people, and I'll tell you, at least two separate people in two completely separate conversations expressed resignation about what's going on. And the phrase they used, it is what it is. It is what it is. And that's really sad when two different people speaking about 10 minutes apart are so frustrated with a situation that they just basically, they're resigned. They're resigned to apparently that there's going to be a certain amount of violence in Binghamton. It is what it is, which I certainly understand. Just given the stories I've covered at that apartment complex in the past, and being at that apartment complex a couple of times when I've been on ride-alongs with city police officers. It is what it is. And of course, the vast majority of calls for service at the Town and Country apartment complex on the north side don't involve shootings or stabbings or serious injuries. The vast majority of calls, in fact, don't involve really high-level issues, but they're quality of life issues, of course, noise issues, and, well, all types of things. And it's just, it's a shame that so many people, an apartment complex that has 253 units, that they're living in a situation like this. And as we said, that project was supposed to have started and been completed years ago. And the outfit out of Boston didn't follow through. And what has happened in the last 2 weeks or so is there is a new management team in place at Town and Country Apartments. Now, I don't know if the new management team at Town and Country is making any kind of a difference. Right now, it's too early to say. I will say, based on several independent reports from people who either live there or know people who live at Town and Country Apartments, the previous management team was unresponsive. So if there were conditions that needed attention, immediate attention, frequently, those problems were ignored. So we have many people who live, I'd say it's about 2 miles or so from where I am, from the studio, in that apartment complex. And for the most part, they're invisible. And for the most part, they get no attention. You will hear a big announcement soon about Town and Country Apartments. But the question is, this time with the big announcement, will it be followed by real action? Will conditions improve at that apartment complex on the north side? I'm Bob Joseph. You're listening to Binghamton Now, live and local on this Tuesday morning on WNBF. We welcome to the program Kathy White, Community Engagement Manager for Ross Park Zoo on Binghamton's South Side. Good morning.
Good morning, Robert Joseph.
It's a pleasure to have you in the WNBF studio.
I'm so nervous talking on the radio.
It's very difficult, but it's like riding a bike. You know, once you get back on, you'll be comfortable.
I mean, you notice a few of the scars from when you've fallen off.
Anyway, it is great to chat with you and also talk about some things coming up at our beautiful zoo.
Yeah, really exciting this weekend. It's been on hiatus for a little while, and people have been asking when we are going to bring some sort of a brew thing back to the zoo. It's had several inceptions over the years. Zoo Brew has been sometimes up at the pavilions. It's been in the amphitheaters. But this year we are doing Ales and Tales Zoo Brew, and it's actually going to be in the zoo itself. Our little slogan for this one is drink beer, protect primates.
That's a nice slogan.
And you're going, what?
Saying, yeah. I think I understand.
Well, no, because we are going to be in the zoo. You get a chance to see the animals. It's happening from 3 to 6 p.m. this Saturday at the zoo. And it's off hours. It's times when you normally wouldn't be seeing the animals out in the evening. And so we have the educational component with the animals. But specifically this month, our featured animal is our black howler monkey, educating people about the Captive Primate Safe Act legislation. So we're kind of raising awareness for that, that we support that, and we are also featuring the Black Monkeys on our posters and on the tasting cups. So we kind of got a theme going there. So drink beer, protect primates.
Well, I can do at least one. Well, so if I do one, then I help.
Yes, because coming to this event, the portion of the proceeds is going directly to those efforts and to the conservation efforts of the zoo. What is really great about this is the experience that you're going to have. Whereas up at the pavilions, it was nice, everything you wanted around about tables and things. This, you've got the whole beautiful campus of the zoo with the changing leaves. The weather is going to be perfect. It looks like at the last forecast I saw, it was going to be sunny to partly cloudy for during the day. Temperatures topping out around 70. So by the time we start with the event at 3 o'clock, you're going to be right about at that 70-degree mark, and it's going to be just lovely weather for walking through the zoo. We not only have breweries and cideries that are participating, but we have got an amazing variety of musical acts that are participating. Get a load of this. We have Gowdy Station, which is a country rock group. We have Alchemy, which is a pop indie duo cover group. We have Vocal Impact. That's Gil Durham and a few of his friends from the Southern Tearsmen. It's a barbershop quartet.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
And how perfect is this for having in the zoo? We have a folk group called Finding Bigfoot.
I love it. I love it.
And there's going to be music all through the zoo. We have them stationed at all different areas where we have the breweries and the cideries. So wherever you go, there's going to be a different opportunity to sit down, relax with your beverage, listen to the music. We have bar snacks at each of the locations. We have available for sale at the Leopard Spot Snack Shack. We'll have bratwurst, and we'll have soft pretzels and other snacks also. If you're a VIP ticket holder, you get a souvenir T-shirt that we have a limited edition of those that we've gotten made up. We're going to give you a free bratwurst and pretzel as well for the VIP tickets. General, everybody gets a souvenir tasting cup. Of course, the bar snacks, the beverages, the music. It's going to be just absolutely a really, really cool time.
If people want to obtain tickets, what are the options?
Okay, the members for general admission is $25 for members, $30 for non-members. If you want those VIP tickets, and those are really limited, and now that people realize the weather is going to be great for Saturday, I expect those are going to sell out probably in the next day. The tickets for VIPs is $50 for members, $55 for non-members. Pre-registration, even the designated drivers are free, but they also have to be over 21 and pre-register. So you want to go to www.rossparkzoo.org. And you'll see the buy tickets button right on the landing page when you go to the website. If you need assistance or you have questions, you can give us a call at 607-724-5461, and we'll put you right through to, you want to get to the visitor experiences department, and they'll be able to help you get your tickets if you're having problems negotiating online. But it's real easy. You just click on the button and you're good to go. But they are limited tickets. We're not going to do any walk-ups. So you want to make sure that you get your tickets secured now at www.rossparkzoo.org, and it's just going to be a great time.
And it's happening Saturday afternoon from 3 to 6.
Drink beer, protect primates.
Well,
no monkeying around.
I had a few other lines too, but I don't want listeners to be upset with my lines. They'd be like, "But Bob, that was insensitive." It's like, no, it was funny. They'd be like, "Yeah, but I was offended." It's like,
Yeah, I mean, I want to real quick before I forget, I want to thank the volunteers. We've got a lot of volunteers that have signed up to help out with this, which is really great. And they are all equipped with animal education cards. So each of the habitats where they are stationed with each of the breweries or cideries, they'll have information about that particular animal, whether it be the sand cats, the Palace's cats, the binturong, the great cats, the leopards. They have information about those animals as well.
Kathy White, Community Engagement Manager at Ross Park Zoo on Binghamton's South Side. It's great to have you back on News Radio WNBF.
Thank you.
It's 1018, live and local, 607-772-1290 is our number. If you have some thoughts, we have some phone lines. Give us a call, 92.1 FM, 1290 AM, and you can stay connected with us using the free WNBF app. It is Tuesday morning, October 1st, so we're now officially into the fourth quarter of the year, which means I'm going to be making some year-end assessments soon. So I'll have some thoughts about the biggest stories of 2024 coming soon as we prepare for our year-end Festival of Fun here at Binghamton Now. So for all of you who enjoy festivals, you'll love our Festival of Fun from Binghamton Now with Bob Joseph. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I can't tell you specifically at the moment. That was interesting, but I've just been... Hold on a second. Yes, thank you for this information. It's always good news coming in. Can't do much about it right now because, believe it or not, I'm here on the air, so I can't do anything about that, but I probably will later. If you see me speeding out of the Binghamton Now Tower heading to the appropriate location, you'll know what I mean. Well, that's too bad. Oh, don't worry. Nobody... Well, I can't say that either because I actually don't know the circumstances. We'll just say it's another one of those interesting stories where, there'll be some sort of repercussions and finger pointing and blame assessing. Of course there will be. It's the way of the world. Well, don't blame me. As always, it's somebody else's fault. Well, it wasn't the biggest story that I worked on over the last few days, but it was one of the more interesting stories, and I'll concede that I wound up spending a fair amount of time trying to figure this one out, even though it's not earth-shattering. It's just one of those curious things that crops up. Some regular listeners in Endicott's fabled Union District were concerned when they saw some drilling or something going on in beautiful Mercero Park. And they contacted me, and they provided some information and even helpfully some pictures, so that was helpful. And so the question came up, so what are these guys from out of town doing drilling in our beautiful park? Why would they be doing anything in our park? I mean, it'd be bad enough if it was guys from Endicott. These guys, and nothing against these guys, it turns out I met the workers. They're fine, upstanding Americans who simply do this for a living. But people were saying, well, what's going on at Mercero Park? Why are they drilling? What are they putting in? A water line for the new Chick-fil-A? What gives? So you call the usual people. I contacted the mayor and some other people in Endicott, and nobody really knew. And some people had seen, oh yeah, we've seen them, and they've been doing digging or drilling or whatever around Endicott and Endwell and Vestal, and I think West Corners. But what's the deal? So after a few days, And eventually was able to get some information from the state DEC, Department of Environmental Conservation. I did talk to the workers one day last week at Mercer Park, and as I said, they're great guys. I enjoyed them, and they had tales to tell, because that's all they do is drill, baby, drill, or conduct borings. So, but they said, well, they just tell us where to go and what to do, but we have no idea who we're doing it for. So it just seemed, well, somebody's got to know. And eventually someone from the DEC was helpful, and she checked into it, and she said that DEC had issued a utility, NYSEG was issued a flood control land use permit to conduct vertical soil borings on DEC flood control land. So it turns out that it was something being done for NYSEG. It says the work is being done as part of a future natural gas main replacement project. 4 of the borings are located on flood control lands or required access through such property, and that's why permit from the DEC was necessary. The locations were chosen to minimize any disturbance to the levees using at least a 50-foot offset. Borings backfilled with a delightful mixture of grout to minimize seepage. So the work should be wrapped up about now. They did leave a message for a NYSEG representative, but I have not heard back from her, because I want to know about this natural gas main replacement project. So if I find out anything else, because it's interesting, they were doing these soil borings, not just at the park, but across the river, over off Pump House Road, not too far from the Susquehanna River. So how they say it? Susquehanna? Hana? Mayor's office had received some calls asking what was going on with that drilling or soil boring or whatever. Oh, well, it's mystery solved, but to an extent, I still want to know more about the natural gas main that apparently is being contemplated. Because if they're doing it at that many locations, I would think it's a pretty expensive project. Gee, I hope it doesn't affect our NYSEG bills. It's 10:28 at News Radio, WNBF. The debate is coming up just hours from now, and what do you have to say about it? Do you think it's going to be the great debate, or do you think it's going to be boring? Yeah, like the work being done at Mercer Park. Boring. 607-772-1290. It's Bob Joseph, live and local, your Tuesday morning, 92.1 FM, 1290 AM, streaming at WNBF.com. It's Bob Joseph, live and local at 1031. Remember, when you need news, first thing in the morning, you need First News Binghamton with Don Morgan. It is the news that will give you a complete briefing on what's going on in your world first thing in the morning. So if you're going to head out to work, or maybe you have a job, I mean, a job like taking the kids to school or whatever you do, you need the information. Before you head outside your house, you really, really need to know what's happening. So First News Binghamton is a good source of what's happening. Weekday mornings from 6 to 9, and then stay with WNBF for our program, Binghamton Now, and then stay with WNBF even longer, because in the afternoon we bring you Dan Bongino from noon to 3 and Sean Hannity from 3 to 6. It's WNBF, the only radio station you'll ever need. 10:32, back to the phones. Good morning, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Bob, this is DJ from Binghamton. How you doing today, my brother from another mother?
I am well.
Are you blessed? That is the question. In your answer is, of course I am. I walk in the favor of the Father, DJ. How could I be anything else but blessed? As I'm in my
when I started in radio, I was a DJ.
You spun that song that I used to sing. I don't sing it anymore. My baby does the hanky panky.
All the hits, all the time.
All the hits, all the time.
All hit music radio. All hit music radio. The big A.
And I remember this. Let's see if you remember this, because I remember this. After you cracked my front window by throwing your newspaper at it, you rode your bike over to 31 Flavors and you got some ice cream with your check on Friday.
Yeah, I always had to pay 25 cents for them ice cream cones scooped personally by Mr. Pat Mitchell. Ooh, so sweet.
What is that place now? Pat Mitchell's on the corner. What is that now?
I'm trying to think if...
There was an old bridge I used to drive over, this old steel bridge.
Yeah, which, by the way, ironically, that old steel bridge is right next to Mercero Park, or just east of Mercero Park that we were just talking about in Endicott. But, the DOT, in its infinite wisdom, came along and decided to tear down Pat Mitchell's ice cream parlor because whoever was governor at the time, it might have been Hugh Carey, whoever was governor, maybe it was Mario Cuomo, hated ice cream. So he had a secret plan to eradicate beloved ice cream shops in upstate New York. And so Pat Mitchell's was targeted, and DOT put out a contract, and they tore down his building.
Is that bridge still there?
Yeah.
That old steel bridge, where is that? Is that Four Corners in Vestal?
Yes.
No, we're talking Endicott.
Well, it links Endicott with Vestal.
Oh, the bridge links Endicott to Vestal.
Because I used to live in that neighborhood for a while. It's a beautiful neighborhood. And we used to say, well, that's the old bridge, because we regarded the McKinley Avenue Bridge, Route 26 bridge, as the new bridge.
Okay. Well, did you ever hear this song by Ted Nugent? I am a predator. Ding, 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 ding. Today's the first day.
Doesn't he have any money?
He wasn't talking about a sex predator. Who, Ted Nugent?
Yeah, doesn't he have any money?
Let's find out. Alexa, how much is Ted Nugent worth? Go tell us. He's worth an estimated $10 million US.
So he's worth $10 million, but he can't afford a haircut.
He's got a mullet now.
No.
Bob,
Ted Nugent has a mullet?
I watch his show. Yeah,
Really?
He grew a mullet.
Well, I'll be darned.
Check it out. He's got a show on Roku on Real America's Voice.
Yeah, I heard he was giving a concert over in Springfield, Ohio, called Cat and Dog Scratch Fever. He's doing a benefit concert in Springfield, Ohio.
They're eating the pets.
Yeah, I heard he's doing a fundraiser for the Kamala Harris campaign, because he's it's well known that Ted Nugent is a big supporter of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
Somebody put a rap to that beat, and they made a rap out of.
Yeah, I saw it. It is kind of cute.
So, what he was talking about, he made an album in the late 70s. I used to terrorize my landlord who lived downstairs. The music was so loud, and it was called Intensities in 10 Cities. That's a play on words. Intensities in 10 Cities. And he wrote the song about Fred Bear, B-A-E-R, I think it was a B-E-A-R, like a real bear. He was a hunter who taught Ted Nugent everything he knows. So that's what that song's about. I am a predator, a hunter. It's not talking about a sex predator. And that's from his album Intensities in 10 Cities. Today is October 1st. It is not Pastor Appreciation Month. It is Hunter Appreciation Month, of which am I. And my rifle has a scope, so I never miss. And today is the first day of hunting. So nobody talks about that today. Fred Bear is the greatest who ever lived. He mentored Ted Nugent. He taught him everything he knows. Ted Nugent used to come in concert, not the arena, because I saw him there, but when he came to other places, he had 2 Uzis in each hand, and he'd come out like, oh, man, it was the best concert you've ever seen, bro. He came out on stage with 2 Uzis, one in each hand. Ted Nugent.
Nothing like class. And I mean that sincerely.
Hey,
nothing like class.
at least he didn't beat out Santa Claus like Alice Cooper did. Alice Cooper beat the snot out of Santa Claus.
Well, it's still...
Did you ever play that song on WENE?
What song?
Did you ever play that song on the one... So, Vincent Furnier, F-U-R-N-I-E-R.
Right, Alice Cooper.
Preacher.
Right.
He took the name Alice Cooper after a 16th century witch. And he made a song about the abortion industry because in the 70s, it became big. And he wrote a song, $1 billion babies. That was about the abortion industry.
Oh, I thought that was Randall Terry.
No.
By the way, how come you don't hear much about Randall Terry anymore? He used to be... last time Randall Terry was here, he came in wearing a fur coat. It was the funniest thing. I mean, I'm serious. People say, but Randall Terry didn't show up at the Binghamton Now studio wearing a fur coat. And I say, yes, he did. And he posed for pictures.
Randall Terry walked up to me. I took my wife to work. It was, 1989 or 90. And the Lord said to me, put your suit jacket in there. I'm like, suit jacket? It's going to be 90 degrees today. So I did. And I obeyed him. I heard it 3 times. You always, 1 Samuel chapter 3, you heard it first time. You always hear it 3 times. So I put my suit jacket in the car and I was just driving around downtown. I was an outreach, I was a pastor, but I was doing outreach. And there's this throng of people, man, like 500 to 600 people out in front of Solomon Epstein's house on Front Street.
Yeah, well.
And I parked on the side, I got out, and Randall Terry walks up to me and hands me the bullhorn. And he said, have at it, brother. And I started reading Psalms and preaching to Solomon Epstein, who was in there.
So you're yelling, you're using a bullhorn to disturb the peace.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, so Randall Terry, the last time Randall Terry was here, I can't believe it's been 5.5 years. He showed up at Binghamton Now. Let's see. Speaking on Binghamton Now, he insisted Andrew Cuomo is running for president. Well, it turns out Andrew Cuomo, as far as I recall, didn't run for president. But Randall Terry was running for president then. So that was 5.5 years ago. And then, so wait, hold on. Are you listening?
Yeah, Randall Terry went to Dan Little's church. Dan Little was about...
Yeah, I know. You don't... Let me...
And they...
Well, stay tuned because I'm just curious because I haven't heard anything about Randall Terry lately, so I am going to, in a moment...
I'm going to tell you. If you want to know, I'll tell you what he's doing right now.
Well, what is he doing? And how come we don't hear from him anymore? I was thinking he should start some kind of public relations campaign so people who knew him in Broome County back in the 80s would know what he's doing.
Randall Terry is pulling a Hillary Clinton. He speaks all over and gives exorbitant fees. He's one of the most sought after. He's like Candace Owens of Turning Point or Charlie Kirk.
Oh, so it's like a national goodwill tour.
How much is Randall Terry worth? He's probably worth like $30 million. Anyway, what did you say, Bob?
No, anyway. Okay, well, stay tuned because I'm now curious since I brought up the subject. Gee, I don't know why I brought it up, but I'm just thinking that it's been 5.5 years since he was here, and then I see that we apparently posted the interview online. So coming up in a moment, and folks, I'm only going to play just a portion of what Randall Terry said when he was at Binghamton Now. The last time we saw him was, of all things, February 13th, 2019. So I'm going to just play a portion of that just because I don't even remember what we talked about. And, of course, we'll take more of your calls, 607-772-1290. This is Binghamton Now with Bob Joseph live on your Tuesday morning. It's Tuesday morning live at 10:45. 607-772-1290 is the official number. If you have some thoughts, we would welcome your call. If you want to talk about local things or national things. All right, so this is just a portion. This is only the beginning of an interview that happened back in February 2019 when Randall Terry was here at Binghamton Now. When's the last time you were in Binghamton?
I can't remember. It's got to have been 6 or 7 years. The last time I was here, my boys were little, and we bought 2 gallons of Cortese salad dressing, the Italian salad dressing, to take home.
Over on the east side.
Yeah, we're going there for lunch. One of the gallons dropped in the car, and the lid flew off, and it spilled all over the car. It was a big van. We had 4 boys in car seats, so we got to smell the delicious Italian dressing for hundreds of miles. It was not a good moment.
Well, now I'm hungry. Anyway, that was when Randall Terry was last year at Binghamton Now. It's 10:46 with Bob Joseph, and let's see what else is going on. Oh, I know. Big stack of stuff, because we enjoy the big stack of tapes that they leave us. Everybody loves the stuff from the big stack. So let's listen to the big stack of stuff, shall we? Donald Trump was in Georgia, one of the places devastated by Helene. He said he brought trucks filled with relief supplies and gas. Apparently no paper towels.
We're not talking about politics now. We have to all get together and get this solved. We need a lot of help. They have to have a lot of help down here.
All right, so it was Donald Trump in Georgia. And remember, it's not about politics. It is not about politics or paper towels.
Throughout the region, our hearts are with you, and we are going to be with you as long as you need.
Meanwhile, President Biden had to chime in, claiming that Trump isn't telling the truth. That is the claim from President Biden. So as you just heard, that was Donald Trump, a former president, speaking in Georgia, assessing, or at least checking out firsthand some of the damage that was caused by Helene. He accused President Biden of refusing to speak with Georgia's governor, Brian Kemp, in the aftermath of the hurricane because he was sleeping. That was the assertion by the former president, about the current president. Well, Joe Biden lashed out during a briefing with his Homeland Security advisor, Liz Sherwood Randall, and North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper. In a video conference call from the Oval Office, he called Donald Trump's claims irresponsible.
He is lying. Let me get this straight. He's lying. And the governor told him he was lying. The governor told him he was lying.
So there you go. You've got the current president asserting that the former president was lying.
He implies that we're not doing everything possible. We are. And you spoke to the governor. I assume you heard the Republican governor of Georgia talk about that he was on the phone with me more than once.
So who do you believe? The current guy or the former guy? So Joe Biden was insistent that he had had the conversations with Governor Brian Kemp, whereas the former president said that was not true. So now you have a thing, and again, this has nothing to do with politics or paper towels. It just has to do with who actually is telling the truth. It seems pretty simple.
I've spoken to the governor, spent time with him, and he told me he's lying. I don't know why he does this. And the reason I get so angry about it, I don't care about what he says about me, but I care what he communicates to the people that are in need.
Well, there you go. Again, it has nothing to do with politics or paper towels. Meanwhile, what does Kamala Harris have to say for herself? Well, the Democratic candidate for president, Kamala Harris, was at a campaign rally in Vegas. Oh, well, this actually happened Sunday night. But I haven't heard this before. They, for some reason, left this choice morsel in today's stack of stuff, even though it was from Sunday night. So this is what Kamala Harris had to say when she was in Vegas. And for some reason, she thought it was appropriate to attack Donald Trump on immigration.
When he was president, he did nothing to fix our immigration system.
All right, that's one thing she said. What else did she say in Vegas during the campaign rally? Oh, she also attacked the former president on his economic policies.
Donald Trump will give billionaires and corporations massive tax cuts. Again, cut Social Security and Medicare.
All right, and what else did she have to say? Oh, about the immigration issue. Remember, they wanted to have a big issue for the election, and so they took steps to ensure that immigration is still a big issue. So listen to what Kamala Harris had to say about that.
Earlier this year, we had a chance to pass the toughest bipartisan border security bill in decades. And Donald Trump tanked the bill because he thought that bill, if passed, would have hurt him, and he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem.
All right, well, that's her take. She's entitled to her opinion. It's 10:52 at WNBF. Remember, the vice presidential debate will be at 9 o'clock tonight. I hope you enjoy it. Let's go back to the phones. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
It's Tom from Johnson City.
Morning, Tom.
You know, I just heard the conversation about if President Biden did or did not speak to the Georgia governor and what Trump's assertions were. If you go online, Bob, you can just Google it. And Governor Kemp did a news conference, and he said he had talked to President Biden. He had spoken to him. President Biden asked, you know, what do you need? So if ex-President Trump asserted that there had been no conversation, I think he needs to go online and hear the governor of Georgia's comments.
Well, I do too. Well, by the way, I think if that's accurate, and I don't doubt it for a minute, if that's accurate, if it turns out that Donald Trump misspoke, I think he owes both Brian Kemp and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and J.D. Vance an apology.
What do you think the chances of that are happening?
Zero. Has he ever apologized for anything in his life?
Not that I've heard of. But
no.
I just wanted to.
Yeah,
okay.
To
bring that up.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
I had not heard the actual or read the actual comment from Brian Kemp, but it doesn't surprise me that Governor Kemp, who has a pretty good record for telling the truth, doesn't surprise me that he would have responded to set the record straight and acknowledge that he spoke with President Biden. So I appreciate your mentioning that to me.
Exactly. Hey, Bob, have a great day.
Thank you. See, that's all we want. We just want honesty. You know, why do we need such dishonesty? That's not what politics is about. Politics isn't about dishonesty. It's about leveling with the American people. We can take the truth. We can handle the truth. Kamala Harris did stop by the FEMA headquarters in D.C. as the agency is moving forward with the recovery aftermath the recovery efforts in the aftermath of the hurricane. And Kamala Harris actually took time out of her busy day to thank the FEMA workers, and she did say she plans to visit some of the affected areas.
Over the past 24 hours, I have spoken with Governor Kemp of Georgia, Governor Cooper of North Carolina, and many local officials. I have shared with them that we will do everything in our power to help communities respond and recover.
And I like that. She speaks clearly she has something to convey, and she says it in a way that sounds professional and to the point. I mean, she didn't take time out to mock anyone. She didn't mock any reporters. She didn't make fun of people who oppose her. And she didn't even take some kind of shot at Donald Trump for lying about Joe Biden. So here's a story from the Hill website where the Georgia governor, Brian Kemp, expressed his appreciation for the role the federal government has played in responding to the hurricane, contradicting comments from Donald Trump, who claimed that Kemp had trouble reaching President Biden. Kemp and White House officials confirmed that Biden spoke to the governor on Sunday to offer support as the state sorts through the damage from Hurricane Helene. Kemp told reporters, he just said, hey, what do you need? And I told him, we got what we need. We will work through the federal process. He offered that if there are other things we need, just to call him directly, which I appreciate that. But we've had FEMA embedded with us since a day or two before the storm hit. The White House Homeland Security Advisor, Liz Sherwood Randall, also confirmed that Biden and Kemp spoke. She said the president would take the governor's call if anything else came up during the recovery process. But, as you heard, when Donald Trump was in Valdosta, Georgia, he criticized Joe Biden's response. So Trump said the governor's doing a very good job. He's having a hard time getting the president on the phone. Federal government is not being responsive. Well, evidently, the facts would suggest otherwise. The federal government, evidently, is trying to do what it can. I mean, come on, man. The truth. That's all we want. I'm serious. I'm not just saying that to placate certain listeners. We just want the truth. Remember one of the great things about the very impressive vice presidential candidate, Sarah Palin, was when she talked about truthiness. And she may not have been able to read a newspaper. Remember when she was asked that important question by Katie Couric, what newspapers do you read? Huh? So maybe she never read a newspaper, but she was really good when it came to truthiness. So Sarah Palin, who's probably on her back porch with binoculars looking at Vladimir Putin right now, yeah. I wouldn't say she was as powerful as J.D. Vance as a vice presidential candidate, but, she definitely, I think she definitely was qualified to be a Republican vice presidential candidate. So, fortunately, the voters took kind of a dim view, but hey, never criticize the voters. There are two things in life you can't criticize. You cannot criticize the verdicts of a jury, and also you cannot criticize the verdict of the American voters. You have to say, after the end of a trial and the verdict comes in, or at the end of a campaign and the results are known, I respect the decision. I respect the decision. It's 11 o'clock. You're listening to... And we're continuing to follow the news of the Twin Tiers. News that may be important to you. Already working on a couple of stories that should be of interest to you, and you'll see them at WNBF.com. We already did post a story. There's, as they say on the website, it's Taco Bell News. Because I know a lot of people enjoy Taco Bell. So we have two separate stories or two updates for Binghamton Taco Bell fans on our website. One is about the Taco Bell restaurant on Court Street. And maybe you drove by there yesterday and said, gee, I sure could go for a taco. And then you saw that the place was being gutted. And you're probably saying, oh, no, what happened to my taco stand? Well, the answer is it's undergoing a massive makeover. So there's a big makeover project. If you want more details, because based on what I'm being told, after they're done with this makeover project at the Court Street Taco Bell, you're not going to recognize it. It'll be completely different. Although they'll still sell tacos, but they won't sell any bells. So take a look at the story, what is going on specifically at the Taco Bell on Court Street. That's been there. I did my research. It appears that Taco Bell on Court Street opened in 1999. So now is a good time for renovation work. If you want to see some details as well as some pictures of what exactly is going on, we have that for you at WNBF.com. Also, perhaps of even greater interest to taco lovers everywhere, another Taco Bell is going to be opening soon, and that'll be on Front Street. So if you need to know where to go for tacos, WNBF.com. It's an abundance of Taco Bell information. Two interesting stories all tied together deliciously in one article, WNBF.com, and see what's going on. And again, we do our best to provide some original local reporting. And as we've said in the past, tips are always accepted. I always say, if you like our stories a lot, then why don't you tip? I suggest if it's a good story, 20%. And if it's a great story, I think the tip should be about 50%. So just send all your tips to me. Or just leave them at the front desk. 20s and 50s preferred. Tips. What I mean about tips in the news, it's if you have a news tip, you can send it to Bob at WNBF.com. Because I may know quite a bit about things going on around here, but I will be the first to admit I don't know everything. So I am very reliant on tips, whether people email them or sometimes they see me out covering some things and they say, well, Bob, the story you're working on now is good, but here's something I bet you didn't know. And then they point me and they say, look over there. I go, what? What? At that sunflower? No, to the left of the sunflower. Take a closer look at that. And I say, oh, it looks like a big story. So Bob at WNBF.com, if you have any information that you think might potentially lead to a news story. And also, if you send an email, although tips are appreciated, I have to be the first to acknowledge, if you send an anonymous tip, especially if it's not detailed, there may not be much I can do about it. Occasionally I'll get tips about something going on, and you can tell it might be a big story, but you can also say, without more information, there really isn't too much I can do about it. And then to add to the challenge, there is no name associated with the tip or no phone number. And I really do appreciate if you send a tip to Bob at WNBF.com that you include your name and your phone number so I can follow up. Don't worry. I'll protect your identity because that's what we do. It's 11:15 here at WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Well, as someone said, famous once said, can you handle the truth? This is Carol from Safety.
Morning, Carol.
Wow. Okay, I want to apologize for not calling you when I was in Portland because the time was going by like a whirlwind. I'm telling you, I had the greatest time. I'm telling you, the people in Portland are phenomenal. And the person I went with got phenomenal gas mileage. We each put in $100, a little change purse, and between driving about 1,200 or 1,300 miles and paying $10 4 times to park in different, this municipal parking or someone's lot, and paying some tolls. We each had $35. Well, I gave him 36. We had $35 and $36 left over from the 200. That's like $70. That's, $130 for tolls, gas, and parking. It was unbelievable.
Well, that's great.
Yes, and don't ask me what the mix of wins and losses were.
Right.
There were so many wonderful people. There's such a big population base in that area, and they were having like 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 people at the games.
Where, at Hadlock Field?
Yes, and there's no parking lot there.
Oh, did you see my friends there, Matt and Denise? Were they there?
No.
Oh. I bet they were there, but they just, you know what? I should have told them that Carol was going to be at the games, and then they would have said hi.
Well, the place was a little bit big. I think that it appeared in my mind because I hadn't been there. Well, I was there in '98, and then 2001 or 2, twice. And all I know is that there's an abbreviated seating on first base side because there's a track and field house that the 2 teams were using as dressing rooms or clubhouse, whatever facility. And there is no exit from the dugout. It reminded me of Thurman Munson ballpark in Canton, Akron, which is no longer Canton, Akron. It's just plain old in Akron downtown. But you could see them walking across the field, to either they had to go to the bathroom or, do something. And so like both teams, just headed straight for that track and field house. So they're coming up with some big remodeling, and I can't wait to go back. And I don't know how long I can talk, but I can bore you with a lot of stuff. Could I just tell you? I'll tell you a quick story.
Oh yeah, tell me, because I'm curious. I've never been to a game in Portland.
Oh my God!
And I hope to get there eventually, maybe next summer.
Well, from '98 till this year, there are 4-lane highways that did not exist when I was there. I always took. Whenever my daughter and I went up to LL Bean in Freeport, which was only 15, 16 miles up the road, you were on Route 1, a 2-lane road. Now there's 295. They've got 4-lane highways like 95 and 295 and 1 are like all in parallel with each other. Of course, north and south of each other. But I spent $151 buying stuff at LL Bean, and that was only because one item was $79.
Well, I got one of their LL Bean jackets when that Bootmobile showed up. Remember I told you the Bootmobile showed up here in Binghamton? I should check. I should check to see if the Bootmobile will come back because and this is not, people think, oh, Bob, you're just saying this because it's some sort of commercial. No, this isn't a commercial. It's just the fact that I went over because it was a Sunday, and some guy who used to work around here in the TV business, he now lives down in the Scranton area, and so he asked me on Twitter, he said, do you know anything about the Bootmobile? And I had to look it up because he saw online the Bootmobile was here in Binghamton. They parked it like right next to the station, almost next door. And so...
Where you are now, you mean?
Yeah. Well, actually, it's closer to the entrance to Metro Center, but just over to the west of where I am. And so on a Sunday, since I had, of course, nothing better to do, I drove up to see the Bootmobile because I thought, well, it's like a vehicle, except it's like a boot. I think they got the idea from, what's that hot dog company? Nathan's Famous Hot Dogs as the thing where they drive their Nathan hot dog mobiles. So they got this idea to drive around a vehicle, and it looks like a boot. And I swear, it's just an advertising gimmick. So I went up to Binghamton to take a picture to put on Twitter, and then I started looking, and I said, oh, it's almost winter, so I think I need a winter jacket. And believe it or not, and again, this is not an ad for the company, it's just I found a nice jacket.
You mean the vehicle itself? I mean, if it could be shaped like a hot dog, you know, for whoever did the other thing.
Oh, yeah, the Nathan's hot dog.
Was it like shaped like an ankle, higher
No,
than
it's
ankle?
like a big boot.
Like high up, like above the ankle.
Well, not high, like mid, like something you'd wear,
above the ankle.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool.
Well, anyway, this is one of the stories that I simply have to tell. And people that know me know I'm very gabby, because I think if you converse with someone, there's always some connection to something, someone. I'm telling you, it's unbelievable. So while in LL Bean, there was this, older man, and I laugh because I'm older, so I feel comfortable talking to older people. And I just started generally talking about LL Bean. We happened to be looking at the same item, which I can't even remember what the heck it was. But come to find out, he's with his girlfriend, who is Polish. And I'm going, oh, my God, because I had mentioned something. I don't know how I even happened to mention it. But he said, well, my girlfriend is Polish. And did you know, and all you people in the audience remember St. Stanislaus Church in school? The name of the Catholic church in Portland is St. Stanislaus. And they have a festival every year, the first weekend in November. And I was like, counting dollars in my head. I couldn't, if it wasn't so close to this trip, I might have had to use credit cards, which I would not have done. I'm just going to start saving money. But I'll just have to remember, I'll have my daughter look it up on the internet. St. Stanislaus Church in Portland has a festival in November. And I just, and like other common things that I bumped into people in talking.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, is that the two baseball teams are owned by the same company.
That's right.
I always thought, who came up with that idea?
Is it called Diamond something?
I can't. Let me look it up. I can't remember. Hold on.
And they have to be impartial.
It's owned by, let's see. Diamond Baseball Holdings. So they own so many teams.
Well,
I think they're the biggest owner of teams. Look, they own the Rumble Ponies. They own the Sea Dogs.
Yeah, I thought that's yes, because someone at the ballpark was telling me. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
They own the Fisher Cats.
Manchester. That's Manchester.
Yeah. New Hampshire Fisher Cats, Manchester. They own the Triplets. They own
the Triplets.
The Harrisburg Senators.
What did you say about Triplets?
They own the Altoona Curve.
Ah, that's one place I haven't been yet.
You haven't been to the Altoona Curve?
No,
if you go
further.
When you go to Altoona, would you do me a favor and stop by the candy place, Boyer Brothers?
Oh my gosh. Turkish, all I can think of is Turkish taffy when you said that. No, is it Reese's Peanut Butter Cup?
No, they have those mallow cups made with mallow. Not to be confused with Mallow Mars, because those are different. Those are cookies, but mallow cups, and they get them from, I guess there's some kind of special trees that grow only in Altoona, mallow trees, and then they load it up with lots of mallow. But they're good, and if you ever go, they have a discount store called the Boyer Brothers Candy Discount Store, and it has just a small door, and above it says Discount Store, and you get deals.
Well, how do you feel? This is changing the subject to a different kind of candy. How do you feel about those marshmallow peeps?
Oh my gosh!
Can I tell you a story about that?
Yeah, you can.
A number of years ago, it was like, I would say a good 15 years ago, I went on a bus trip with a senior group from St. Anthony's Church, and we went to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, there was a gambling casino there that used to be a steel mill. There was, I took pictures of the factories, adjacent to the parking lot. And they had like a little mini mall there. It was probably, 5-6 stores. And one of them was a Peeps store. And I bought a little, a coffee mug, and I bought some Peeps. Well, here's the revelation that I'm dying to make. I did not believe how fresh those Peeps could be if you buy them right at the
Well, that's the
store.
thing. See,
I couldn't believe how soft they were.
The problem, it's not the only problem, but it's the only problem we have time for today. The main problem with Marshmallow Peeps is after about a week, they start to get hard and crusty. And I got to tell you, and I don't mean this, well, yeah, I mean it. Fresh is best. So if you can find, as you did, fresh Marshmallow Peeps, they're wonderful. When they start getting old and crusty and dry, what you have to do, you have to put them in the microwave for about 25 minutes. You get
seconds.
Oh, well, then I've been doing it wrong. Because if I put
it
it in for 25 minutes, they melt all over the place, and it becomes a smoky, molten mess.
No. If you do it in the microwave, they'll get hard within minutes.
Yeah.
But rock, it's like, whatever.
You know what? What I just thought of, though, with Peeps, not that I'll ever buy one again, but say if somebody gives me one, I'll save it, and then I'll put it on a little stick, and the next time that we're having a fire, I'll put the marshmallow, like, what do they call them? The toasty marshmallows.
The sugar will burn.
You think?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Well, I'll call the fire department ahead of time so they can have a couple of units standing by with an extinguisher in case I set the yard on fire with all my burning Peeps.
Could I talk some more about Hadlock Field up in Portland? Having spent there, the people at the hotel were absolutely wonderful. 24-hour desk coverage, and we had great continental breakfast. And there was something else I wanted to say. Oh, yes. After being there and seeing how many new roads there were, I would love to go live there for a month just to acquaint myself with the different places that they have.
Well, Port, I got to tell you,
Old Port. I wanted to go to Old Port. Never made it to Old Port.
You know where you should go next time you go to Maine? You go up to Lisbon Falls.
Where?
Lisbon Falls.
Like Lisbon, Portugal? Lisbon?
Yeah.
Where's that? North of Portland?
Yeah, it's not too far. I think it's less than an hour from Portland. So what you do is you drive up there and you go to their Moxie Festival. It's a festival filled with Moxie. And they do it.
I quiver with excitement.
There you go. So it's like, what do they say? What do they say on the commercials? It's like a dream come true. So you go there to the Moxie Festival, and they have it every year. And you go and you can get Moxie ice cream. They have Moxie trinkets. They have T-shirts, bumper stickers, coffee mugs, or if you like tea mugs. So that's what you do. Next time you're in Maine, go to some of the Sea Dogs games and then go up to Lisbon Falls for the Moxie Fest. You'll be glad you did.
Could I talk about the parking? And the devotion of the fans there is unbelievable. They follow, you will like this, what I'm about to say, they follow some traditions of the Bo Sox team. In the 7th inning, and they did this, I had forgotten all about it. They did it when I was there in 98. They sing Sweet Caroline.
Oh, I like that.
In the 7th inning.
I like that. That's by John Denver.
The participation is unbelievable. Especially the part,
you go,
when
bum, bum, bum.
Exactly.
Am I right?
I didn't know how. I didn't want to sing it over the bum, 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 bum.
Yeah. See?
And they punched their fist into the air, or I did anyway.
Well, remember, didn't they do that at least once at the Rumble Ponies this season? Well, I think they did it a couple of times where they played that Sweet Caroline, and obviously I was joking. It's Neil Diamond, but.
Yes, I was wondering.
Yeah, I just wanted to see if you're paying attention.
Yes, I was.
So, yeah, they I think they did that a couple of times during Rumble Ponies games, and it's just such a nice tradition.
There's such a following. I mean, these people go crazy over every little hit. I actually, we had no chance of winning, getting in first place or whatever, because we had lost, if we had won several more games. But I actually wanted us to lose to Portland at the last game, because if they won and Somerset lost, they would have been in the playoffs. But that's not what happened. They lost and Somerset won. So even if we had won, if they had won, I should say, and Somerset won, they still wouldn't have made the playoffs. So it just worked in the opposite.
All right. Well, I appreciate the update. I was getting a little concerned because we hadn't heard from you in a while, and then I thought...
I was feeling very badly about that because I thought, okay, and every time I would think of it again, it was already after 12 o'clock. So, I don't know. It's just the time. I always like to say this, tempest fugit. Time flies.
Well, time does fly.
Yes, it does.
When you're having radio. All right. Well, hey, thanks for calling in.
Thank you, Bob.
11:31 at WNBF, 607-772-1290. It's all part of the Binghamton Now family. It's an extended family. Oh, look, there's Uncle Charlie now. 607-772-1290. This is October 1st. It's going to be a great month filled with great October surprises, and we'll talk about them right here on WNBF's Binghamton Now. Let's take more calls. Hi, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from? Hi, is the caller there? Well, there you go. It must have something to do with the Verizon outage. And that's another thing. So Verizon has another outage, and they don't explain how it happened. So thousands of people have to deal with an outage. And look, I don't need my phone, but I know you do. Hey, I can get along without my phone, but most people can't. So Verizon, they have another outage, and apparently they're unable to explain how it happened. I don't know the first thing about running phone companies, but I would tell you this. If I was running any kind of a serious phone company, if there was a massive outage, the first thing I would do was explain why it happened, and then I would also tell you what I would do next, how I'm going to see to it that it doesn't happen again. So Verizon, which is one of the better-known companies, had a massive outage that affected customers across the country. Now, Verizon claims to have 114 million customers, but we don't know. We just don't know about how many customers were affected by the outage. All we know is a lot of people were. Thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands. But Verizon will not explain exactly how many customers were affected, what caused the outage, and what they intend to do about it. We are aware of an issue impacting service for some customers. That's all they said. Well, that's not helpful. But, as they say, it's like that bit that used to be on TV. We're Verizon. We don't have to explain any outages and what we're going to do to see to it that they don't recur. Anyway, I'm sure they'll get it figured out soon. It's 11:36 WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Bob. It's Beverly from the town of Dickinson.
Yeah, what's going on?
I have a question. I like to tell you something. That lady mentioned about going to Altoona, Pennsylvania. Now you got me thinking that my friend and I could go down. I haven't been down there since my cousin passed away, and that was 2009.
And you know that candy store I was telling you about with the Boyer brothers with their Mallow cups?
I've heard of them.
So the next time you go to Altoona, will you try to go to the candy store and get some of those cheap Mallow cups?
Yeah, they don't sell them up here, Bob. I looked at the Speedway. I looked at the grocery stores.
Well, they sell them. They do sell them, but they don't sell them. One of the problems facing the company, Boyer Brothers Candy Company, is they're a relatively small independent candy company. They're going up against the candy heavyweights, Hershey and Mars, and those companies dominate the market, so they get nearly 99% of all the shelf space for that stores a lot for candy. So then the small companies like Boyer Brothers or some of the other tinier companies, they have to really duke it out trying to get a slot in the store. It's hard if you work in grocery stores, you know what a slot is, and it's almost impossible for these smaller companies to get a slot.
Do you remember that company that used to sell candy here in Binghamton? They used to distribute them. Do you remember what the name of that was?
Well, they did Fair Play.
Fair Play, yeah.
It was in Johnson City.
Right.
It's where the mosque is now. They used to be.
I
used to
see.
make the BB bats, and what were those little things? The little square things. I can't remember them now. BB bats, and they were supported by the American Dental Association because the American Dental Association figured if every kid in America would eat 2 BB bats every day, that the average income for dentists across the country would go up by 34%. So the American Dental Association, I think, by the way, I'm kidding, but I think the American Dental Association liked Fair Play because almost all their candies were very kind of hard and chewy. So I think they were designed to basically help increase the income for the dental industry.
You know what? My favorite is Fifth Avenue. Can't even find them.
Yeah, my favorite is Cherry Blossoms.
Oh.
Can't even find them. Or Coffee Crisp. Did you ever have Coffee Crisp?
I don't remember.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, man, they're good.
Yeah, when that lady was talking about Altoona, Pennsylvania, I said, geez, I'm going to ask my friend if they want to go for a few days.
All right. Well, if you go, let me know.
Yeah. Do you know that there's one church that's down there in Altoona, and it must have taken up at least 6 blocks. I think it's a Catholic church.
Oh, really?
I can't remember what it was. I think it was St. Patrick's, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's
I
wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, St. Patrick's, I think, is let me just check. St. Patrick's. Because I bet that's it. Hold on. Well, they have. Doesn't look like they have a St. Patrick's in Altoona. They have a couple nearby, but not Altoona.
Yeah, well, this church is probably about 6 blocks long.
Wow.
I mean, it's a big church.
Huh. Well, if I go to Altoona, I will try to check it out because it sounds magnificent. Sounds like it must be a beautiful structure.
It is. When was the last time you were down there?
I've never been.
No.
No.
Oh.
I want to go. I want to see the Altoona Curve.
Oh yeah.
Right?
I'll tell you something real funny. My friend and I, we went to see the curve, and it was a nice, beautiful day. We both fell asleep in the car.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
And, one of the police officers or whatever, or security guys, whatever, was patrolling that area. He said, "Are you people all right?" And I go, "Yes." I said that that the air was so fresh. I said we fell asleep.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. So the last time I was down there, it was in 2009 when my cousin passed away.
Huh. All right. Well, keep me posted if anything comes up. Keep an eye on that McDonald's too. See if.
Oh, you mean McDonald's up here is half the time it's not open, Bob.
Well, maybe they're waiting for another shipment of.
No, they have everything. They have everything.
So why aren't they open?
What I think is too, Bob, is that they had college kids and high school kids
Oh,
there.
so they don't have enough workers sometimes. Well,
yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
But Speedway, they got a lot of stuff in there.
All right. Well, thanks for the update. Appreciate your call. It's 11:43 at News Radio, WNBF and WNBF.com. The nicest guy on the radio. 607-772-1290. And WNBF brings you all the information that we can about local stories, including a developing story. And you can see some of the pictures from the scene of that deadly shooting that happened in Binghamton. As we reported, a Binghamton man is dead after he was shot in the head while in his home. The 41-year-old man was wounded by a bullet that was fired during a dispute outside his residence. So the police are trying to figure out how this happened. So that man wound up apparently with a facial wound. They tried to help him, but nothing could be done. He was taken to Wilson Medical Center in Johnson City, where he was pronounced dead shortly after the police got there. To that shooting, they learned that another guy with a gunshot wound was about a block away. So that injured man was taken to a hospital for treatment to a gunshot wound to his foot. So right now, investigators are trying to determine what exactly happened leading up to the shooting. They said the man who died was an uninvolved party who was struck by gunfire while in his residence. So imagine you're sitting there watching TV at 10:15 at night, minding your own business, and then you get shot in the face because people outside are having a dispute. So police did return to the neighborhood this morning to canvass some nearby streets for possible witnesses, as well as trying to see if there was any additional evidence that could be found in connection with that shooting. People with information about the shooting may contact the Binghamton Police Detective Division. That number is 607-772-7080. Again, we have some photos of the area where the shooting happened on our website, WNBF.com. It's 11:48. And to say that's a troubled apartment complex, certainly an understatement. We talked about it earlier in the program because the place has been in bad shape for years. And unfortunately, a lot of people who live there really don't have a whole lot of choice as far as other options. I'm sure if they had their choice, they'd rather be living, say, at the apartment complex at 50 Front Street. That might be, or maybe the apartment complex at 5 Riverside Drive. But if you look at the rents for those places, those rents are beyond the means of the average person. So yes, you may say to yourself, well, why do these people live at Town and Country Apartments when Binghamton has nicer apartments with more secure parking and just overall better amenities? Why don't they live over at 50 Front Street or at 5 Riverside Drive, or even better at the apartments there in Johnson City over on Leicester Avenue? Why don't they live there at the Victory Lofts or at the Ansco Lofts over on Emma Street? Why don't they live there instead of Town and Country Apartments? And I suppose it just comes down to money. If they had the money, they would live there. But, well, I guess most of us don't have that kind of cash. It's 11:50 here at WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Bob. It's Quinn from Binghamton.
Hey, welcome. What's on your mind?
Hey, is that what happened? The guy was an innocent bystander and got shot?
Well, that's the way it comes across from the police news release.
Wow.
Yeah. So let me find the police news release so I can quote you the part of the news release. I personally haven't talked with Captain Corey Minor. He put out the news release a short time ago. So the shooting happened, it says, at about 10:18 last night. So the police went over there to Building 2, Apartment 8, and they found the 41-year-old man had a gunshot wound to the head, and so he was very seriously injured. It says, our investigation determined that the shooting happened in the parking lot outside that building. And it says, as a result of the gunfire, the 41-year-old man who ultimately died, he was an uninvolved party who was struck by gunfire while in his residence. That's all it says. It doesn't go into any more detail. But yeah, it sounds like he was sitting there. Who knows if he was having a snack or watching TV or, watching YouTube or reading a book. But can you imagine you're sitting on a Monday night? Maybe he's watching Monday Night Football. Imagine you're watching Monday Night Football and you're rooting for your team and thinking, it's a great game. And then at 10:18, you get shot by somebody. And who knows? See, the thing is about disputes, who knows what they were even arguing about out in the parking lot? Could have been anything.
Sure.
So I don't know. It's tragic. As I said, the death of this 41-year-old man is as big a loss to Binghamton as the death of 12-year-old Eliza Spencer. And there's a case that police, of course, have been working on to try to find who was responsible for Eliza's death more than 2.5 years ago. And yet I bet we're not going to hear a whole lot about this case at Town and Country Apartments compared to all the attention, which rightfully was received about the shooting of Eliza Spencer. But it's a terrible tragedy. I spoke with some people at the apartment complex and some people who were nearby who heard the shots, and people are shaken.
Yeah. Did you get the sense that people don't want to talk about it, or are people coming forward?
Well, here's the thing. Some people that I talked to today did talk about it. They didn't have a whole lot of information. Remember, I didn't go there last night. I learned of it pretty much as it happened, and I actually thought for a moment about going to the scene, and then I thought, in the early stages, it's going to be so chaotic, and from a news standpoint, there's probably not a whole lot to be gained by being there shortly after. So I wound up there at about 8:15 this morning, and I talked to people at the apartment complex and some of the people who live across the street who heard the shots. And then also over on Liberty Street, because another guy also showed up about a block away over to the east on Liberty Street, and he had a gunshot wound to his foot. And some of the people over there said they knew a little bit about what happened. And then another guy I spoke with over on Liberty Street, I said, do you know the people who were involved? And he said, yes. He said, but I'm not talking. And I said, and I understand, by the way,
oh, yeah.
Let's face it. I think the last thing in a case like this that someone needs is to be perceived to be talking to news reporters or the police, because that sort of thing doesn't necessarily go over well.
Right. It's a shame that that's the way it is, but that is
and it's
what we're faced with.
I mean, I was just having this conversation, oddly enough, on Monday afternoon with Captain Miner, just talking. We were talking about the shooting investigation from over the weekend and just how difficult it is for investigators to try to figure out precisely what happened in these cases, because some people will talk. I mean, I'm sure they have a certain fear, but they also understand that if they don't tell the police what they know, then there's not likely to be any real justice. So, and then some people,
absolutely,
and understandably, some people are very reluctant to come forward. But as I said, the police try to give out this phone number for major cases, 607-772-7080. So people who might know something will call. And if you really need to remain anonymous, you can stay anonymous, although they always help, or they always prefer that you'd give their name and your phone number so if they can follow up. But, hopefully they'll be able to get some solid information and track down the shooter.
Yeah.
Appreciate your call.
That'd be the way to do it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Bob.
And that is our program for today. We'll give you the latest information about the homicide investigation in Binghamton. And we'll have some updates, of course, on the website, WNBF.com. Bob Joseph, thanks for being with us on this Tuesday morning. I'll be back tomorrow from 9 to noon for you with Binghamton Now on News Radio, WNBF and WNBF.com.